Um, I want to talk about something here. It's you you became entrepreneurial at a young age, 21, like that, and out of necessity, like you said. Now, I want to talk about the risk versus reward of employee versus entrepreneur, because if you were running your bar, if you owned the bar, it sounds like you didn't own the full thing, but had fractional ownership in it. But if you owned a bar in 2020, it'd be a lot different story because you would not be deemed essential. Whereas work in a 9 to 5 right now and deemed essential, I consider myself pretty lucky right now. So maybe touch on risk versus reward in terms of employee versus entrepreneur.
I, I think an entrepreneur is somebody who's truly entrepreneurial, which it ended up I was. They don't consider risk probably even as much as they should. They're driven. Even today, if I see a hole in the market, if I see a need in the market for a good or service that isn't being addressed, I have to really restrain myself not to go do something about it. And it's really profoundly stupid. I'm 68 years of age. I shouldn't be starting more businesses. I don't need to make more money. I need more time. I want to travel the world with my wife and enjoy things other than mind tours and conferences, but I can't help it. I see a need in the market and I think, God, that would be fun to address.
Yeah.
The other thing about an entrepreneur is there are certain circumstances where you have no choice but to own the business. In the financial services business, I probably would have preferred to work in a bigger firm when I was younger, but I found that the bigger firms weren't an environment that was conducive to me looking after my clients. The firm, rather than viewing my clients as customers, as
Mhm.
God, as the Japanese would say, viewed them as assets, as chattel. And that platform wasn't conducive to the way that I wanted to run my business. When my business became big enough that it outstripped my management capabilities, which is to say about probably 2010, I found myself being so busy running a business that I didn't have as much time to add value for my customers as I wanted. And so I sold myself to Sprott. And I found a very happy home as an entrepreneur in a culture that was very entrepreneurial.
Right.
At the time that I sold my business to Sprott, the guy who ran the place is the guy whose name was on the door, Eric Sprott.
Yeah.
And that was an absolute hothouse of entrepreneurial activity. If I wanted to do something, I would propose it to the board, and Eric would say, "So what's the holdup? Get it on."
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fantastic, and I would be there now, except for the fact that my life is such that I'd like to do some other things with it. So
Yeah.
I don't know that for many people they can't pursue their life streams, not all of which are material, by being an entrepreneur. Sometimes you have to be an entrepreneur to defend your customers from your employer. Sometimes you have to be an entrepreneur because you simply have no choice. It's in your nature.
You
My
touched on
friend
something
Ross,
important. Go
my
ahead.
friend Ross Beatty, who you may have run into in the mining business. Ross he's crowding 70 if he's not there yet. And he's absolutely, totally failed retirement. Uh, During the time I know him, he has started 14 or 15 mining companies. He can't help himself. He absolutely can't help himself. He can stay home with his wife, who he's very close with, and tend bees and things like that. And he can probably do that for 3 or 4 weeks at a stretch. But after that, doing something takes over.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder. Just the mindset, hey. But what you touched on that was important that I found interesting is that being an entrepreneur, you're more focused on the business. If you're painting houses, you're not painting houses if you're the business owner. You have a crew doing it. If you're in finance, you like you said, you're more focused on running the business than actually doing your passion.
That's correct. And one of the things that's bothered me, I shouldn't say bothered me, as my various entrepreneurial activities have become successful in various businesses I've been part of, I find myself increasingly doing less and less of the things I enjoy, and more of managing success. One thing that's really been useful to me as an entrepreneur for the last 25 years has been investing in other people's entrepreneurial successes so that I can mentor and back other people. And to the extent that the business grows, it doesn't take more and more of my time, but rather often I'm able to help entrepreneurs in the progression that they themselves go through from founder to manager. Often succession is an important part of succeeding and growing a business. The skill sets involved in taking a business from nothing to something are often very different than the skill sets that are involved in taking a business from something to something bigger.
Right.
And I'm usually fairly able to visit with the entrepreneur and say, this is great. You've been there, you've done that. Now it's probably time for you to do it again or something. But certainly in terms of growing the business, you're going to run into a skills need that you may or may not be qualified to fulfill.
Mhm.